So if you watched my channel before, you might remember I made a video showing how to make coffee using this machine, which is a really basic espresso machine. And I thought I would make this video because I got one of these for my birthday last year, and ever since I've been making coffee with this instead of the machine. And you might think, why would I make coffee using a small sort of traditional coffee jug, or mocha as they're sometimes called, mocha kettles. And I thought I would just explain why I often prefer to use this now over the machine. So I thought I would just run through how to actually use one of these things, and sort of explain why I prefer it. And I guess like the main reason I prefer this is, even though it's a slightly more effort to use and to sort of make your cup of coffee with, I think the coffee tastes quite a lot fresher out of these. And I don't know if that's because I don't know if they're easier to clean, or you don't get like residue built up in there. I'm not really sure. Some of you might know the answer to that. But and if you do, leave a comment and let me know. But I feel that it's just because they're quite a simply made thing, which is quite easy to clean. And so I've started using that all the time now, and also I feel that it's better for the way I like coffee, which is just having it as an espresso. So rather than having any milk in it, or like some people, like lattes more than sort of strong coffee, but I prefer strong coffee. And I like my coffee without the sort of creamy bit on the top. So I like making my coffee with this now. So, and it also means that I can use my favourite coffee beans as well, which is really nice. And my favourite coffee beans are these ones here, which is Illy brand. And it's the Illy Blend Bold Roast 100% Arabica full-bodied coffee beans. And these are the beans. So if you never brewed coffee before from bean, this is how it works. So you get your coffee beans, which are come in a tin like this, and those are beans. So you have to prepare the beans before you can use this. So what you do is you have one of these machines called a coffee grinder, and the job of this is just to take the beans and to just grind them into a sort of a powder that you can use in the mocha jar. And so I'll just show you how to use this. So it's really simple. So the coffee beans go in the top here. So you just take the lid off, take your coffee beans, and you just take your coffee beans into the top of this one. I mean, this is a really simple one that I have. You might be able to get more fancy ones, but this one's quite simple. And you just put your coffee beans in the top, and then put your lid on. Just put it right. So put that lid on securely. Make sure it's tight, and then you just press this button here on the front. So you just press and hold. If it's on tight, you have to make sure the lid's on properly, and you have to make sure that the power is switched on as well, which helps. That always helps. So if you just press the button on the front. You probably hold it down for about, say, 20 seconds. And what you want your coffee beans to be ground down into a fine powder like this. And you can see this has still got some beans remaining. So without making too much of a mess like I'm doing here, just try giving it a little shake, and then try it again. So maybe 20 seconds. It's quite satisfying actually doing this, and it gives you a sort of satisfaction in a weird sort of way that the coffee machine doesn't, because you can kind of see all your coffee beans all ground down into a powder. So that's my coffee powder that I've made now. So The next step is to take your coffee, mocha, and so these things, they're comprised of a number of parts. I'll just show you. So that's what it looks like, and it's like a little kettle, and it's got a handle, and it's got like a spout like a teapot, just in case you haven't seen one, because I hadn't seen one before I got this. And it has a lid, and it's got space at the top for the coffee to brew, and I'll show you how it works. So you've got like 3 sections. So there's the top section, which looks like that, and then you've got the filter section, which is like what you've probably seen before, one of these. If you've used one of these machines, these espresso machines, you'll know what that looks like. And that's where your coffee goes. And then you've got this bottom section, which is where the water goes. So your first step is to fill that with water up to the line, and it's the light. You can see there's a line inside here. Sorry, it's not very clear, but there's a line there. So just fill that with some cold water. So once that's full, then you want to fill your filter with coffee powder. So just grab this one. And if you fill this machine with coffee beans, it should be enough to make probably about 3 or 4 cups. And on the one downside to this is that it is quite messy, so that's probably the benefit of the machine over using one of these Moka kettles, because if you're not careful, it just goes everywhere. Like, as you can see, it's just going everywhere. So you do have a bit of a clean up after. So once that's full, sort of fill it to the top, fill that filter to the top with your coffee powder, and then that goes on top there, and then this top section just screws on like that. Okay, so that's nice and tight now. So the next step is just to put this on the stove, and you just stick it on the stove. And again, I didn't know this was how it works, but it just goes onto the stove. There's no way of it heating itself. You know, it's just a simple device. It's not. There's nothing automatic about this. It's really old school. It's really traditional. So it just goes on the stove, and yeah, you just put it on probably the best put it on the small burner on your stove top. So you just put that on there, and then that takes about 10 minutes. So you've kind of got to be patient with this, because it's not like the coffee machine where, you know, you press a button and it's done in like a couple of minutes or less than a minute. It's a bit of a slower process, so it's more of a sort of old-fashioned way of doing things. So it's slower. But I think it's worth it. So if you actually try this, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you think the taste of the coffee is actually nicer. And thanks to the magic of YouTube, I'm back 5 minutes later. And actually, I don't think it really takes 10 minutes. It probably takes about 5 minutes to actually boil. So as you can see, you can hear this now boiling, and you can really tell it's ready by the sound, and you can see the steam coming out of the spout. So it's kind of like that's the way that you know it's ready. You have to kind of remain in the area to make sure it doesn't burn, because if it does burn, it does not taste good. I don't know if you've ever tasted burnt coffee, but it doesn't taste good. But yeah, you know that's ready because you can see the steam and you can hear the bubbles, a bit like when you hear a kettle boiling. I mean, in the UK we're used to that sound of the kettle boiling, but for our North American viewers, I don't know if that's as much of a familiar sound. But anyway, yeah, so that's it. So then it's just a matter of just serving it in an espresso cup and enjoying. And that is how to use a mocha to make espresso.